Happy New Year. It is the end of the new year. 2025 is over. Honestly, I think a lot of people have been feeling the same way about 2025. I think because it's over. Like, 2026 could not come any better. I mean, Christmas didn't feel like Christmas. That is also partially because I was bedbound in almost 40 degrees Celsius fever. So yeah, Christmas really didn't feel like Christmas anyway. But I didn't have that usual Christmas spirit. I went out for a late lunch with my cousin on Christmas Eve. And then I was sick that same night. I'm still slightly recovering. I only have a blocked nose now. But I wanted to reflect on the year that I've had. It's 10:47 at it is It's currently 10:47 on the 31st of December. So I've got a good, hour-ish, a bit more than that for New Year to actually come in. I've just finished my hair. They're micro braids that with the intention of them becoming locks and them locking into each other. There's a bit. My mum recently started. My mum has a shop. A venture that she wants to start, and next door to that shop is a hairdresser. And a couple of months ago, maybe this was in October, we got there, and I had my locks, it's like my actual hair being locked was probably, I was in a second year. This year was the second year I had my hair locked for, but I was in Africa, I was in different countries in Africa, but specifically in Rwanda where I got my hair extensions done, so my locks were a bit longer. I had cut them. And I wanted them to be a bob. I kind of cut like a hime cut for myself, and then I just wanted I wanted a bob. But the city is predominantly white, so I'm going to be really honest. I don't really think that they're in the know with what hair trends are currently happening. Like they stick to what their clientele knows and wants, but I don't think they actively keep up with what is popular abroad, possibly. And so he was like, did you do that to yourself? And it didn't clock that I had still like what was left of the hime, and then like what I'd cut to cut shorter into a bob. And I was like, yeah. And then he said to me, cutting your hair is so hard. And I kind of looked at him like, that's crazy. Like, you're meeting me for the first time. You didn't even say hello to me when I came in. You just said, did you do that to yourself? and honestly, like, I couldn't get it out of my mind because I love changing my hair. I love the fact that I can change and play with your hair. And I can throw in a wig. I don't like it. Throw in a wig. My hair will grow out. Nobody used to know. But then after thinking about it for a little longer, I realized that my hair truly is a signifier of how I am feeling mentally. And honestly, this has been an extremely confusing year for me. I've moved back to the country I grew up in, well, I spent, what, like, third year of primary school up until graduating secondary school, and then moved back abroad, and then came back. I spent my most formative years of adulthood in another country with different rules, different perspectives, and I've had to grow that with the kind of very Western mindset that I most likely would have had, and then adapt that with the Eastern mindset that I had as a child and I'm now gaining as a young adult. And hair was like the only thing I believe I had any control over. It was the only thing that I could control, that I could decide yes or no to without somebody else's input feeling like it was dominating me. So, I mean, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my hair. I shaved my head 2 weeks before leaving to live abroad to a new country where nobody knew me. I was moving completely alone at 19. I shaved my head. Everybody knew me with a shaved head first. I did not have the head shape for a shaved head. But I got to see my hair grow out of his scalp for the first time. Well, not really for the first time, but from scratch for the first time. And grow into an afro, and then braid my hair for the first time, which is so interesting because I only ever had dreadlocks. I had never done braid extensions. So I spent a good 7 years just simply doing braid extensions, and then switching over to lock extensions because I started to wonder whether I wanted to really commit to locks again, or whether I still wasn't going to do braids, to get braids again. And then I decided to lock my hair when I got an internship last April. Yeah, oh my gosh, last April. I got an internship last April. This is 2 years after I graduated. I was confused. I didn't know what to do. I thought I was wasting my time because what am I doing? Now I'm living in a different country. I am actively job searching. My job seeking visa is going to run out. Am I just going to go home? What am I going to do when I go home? I don't know what to do. Internship came up, took it. They needed one person. I said, well, you know what? What's the worst that's going to come from that? Did it. Best decision I could have made at that time. I learned so much. I've experienced so much. I got to travel to how many countries did I go to this year? I traveled to Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda. Something's missing. Something is definitely... No, hold on. In order, I went to Ghana, and then I went to Kenya, and then from Kenya, where did I go? Oh yeah, Rwanda. And then I went to Nigeria and South Africa. Okay. 5. I went to 5 African countries. I have met high-profile people in each of those countries. One of those people were not they're not African, they're Australian. But he was doing work in Rwanda at that time for a festival. And getting to interview them, I mean, I finally felt like this was a part of me that my younger self would have seen and actually been proud of. Up until that point, I think I really, really belittled how much growth I had actually made. I moved abroad at 19 on my own without knowing anybody. 6 months in, while still learning the language, got myself a job and started making money. And I had been working continuously through university and afterwards. Sorting out visa situations on my own, finding flats on my own when I decided to move out of dormitories. Things just seemed to work out so well. I didn't even realize how how impressive it actually is to be able to do that in a different language. You know, I wrote a dissertation. I wrote my dissertation in another language. That's impressive. And I didn't do any of that for likes, clicks. I just did it. I mean, loads of people, I think because so many people were doing it, like we were a lot of foreign students, I didn't think of it as anything special. I was like, well, yeah, we've all done it. We've got seniors who are foreign students who've done it, juniors who are doing it, my friends, we're all doing it. What's so special about it? I have drastically undermined myself and undermined the growth that I have made in those 8 years, from 19 to now 28. That is a lot of work and that I should be proud of, that I hadn't done previously. I think I went way off on a tangent because I was talking about hair, and I don't really know how I got to the point that I'm making now. But okay, it's control. There's something about having control in over things, but coming back home, I think I felt like I had failed because I wasn't able to continue. Like, I got really burnt out. I had a dream about my grandfather. My grandfather was not well, and I was so distraught. I had to come back home. I was like, I'll come back home. I'll sign up for a working visa whilst I'm here, and then I can do more work. A lot of things didn't go well. I was very paranoid because I was like, now the office thinks I'm going to be really unprofessional. They're not going to trust me anymore. Everything's just going to sound like an excuse because obviously UK preparing for like life abroad and things like that, they're not really as efficient as Korean immigration. Korean immigration is scary, okay? The immigration office is terrifying, but they're good at their job. They get things done pronto. UK, I ended up getting cancelled and I didn't even get a refund for the application that I made that didn't end up going through. They're just like, yeah, we'll tell you when we tell you. Okay, bye. You're messing with people's lives. Fix it. So I was like, okay, well, I kind of just took it as a sign of maybe it is time for me to move on. It does not mean it's like complete end of near to life in Korea. I will always have a connection to Korea. I was born there. I was born, like, my life started there. It's not like that connection is going to be there. I'm always going to be connected to it. But it doesn't mean that I don't have to take a break. I was so burnt out. I genuinely lost all hope of ever reconnecting with any sort of creativity. I was struggling to read. I felt like I was getting dumber, despite being in the office space I was in, with people who love to read, intellectuals. Like, we had friendly debates almost every morning. Thriving until I was like, I'm like, office work isn't for me. I've always known office work isn't for me. Like, to be limited to a desk and a computer for the amount of hours I were, and then I put on so much weight. I've always been very athletic, and I never really cared about weight. But being in a country like Korea, it does seep into your psyche a little bit. But because I felt so drastically different, I felt physically heavy, and the things that I didn't even have to think about before were starting to get difficult, so I just wasn't feeling myself at all. And so it did kind of help make the decision for me to stay home. And maybe I will go for a working visa again one day. Maybe when I feel like I've found something that I really want to do, that I want to spend 2 years of a working holiday in Korea again. But I think that kind of links to why I found it so hard to get to being creative, getting on my grind. I love creating. I love writing. I love editing. I love putting things together. Look at the first video I made on my Iris Scene YouTube channel. I had so much fun making a storyboard for that, and I somehow lost the source for that. I lost my secret source, and I've been desperate to get it back. And that desperation, I think that desperation and not knowing how to decide what it is I wanted to do, and everyone is asking, what are you doing, what are you doing, what are you doing, and I'm asking myself that, how am I supposed to give you an answer when I'm still figuring that out for myself? Stop asking me. Just that is not the only question there is to ask a human being. There are millions of questions you can ask. Why is that the only question you choose to ask anybody? And I'm also not someone who likes to tell everybody exactly what it is that I like to do. That's just on trust issues. Gonna sound a little bit woo-woo, but I genuinely do believe in people cursing your name. Some people might not, that's fine, but I'm not even kidding. I was actually speaking to a friend online, and I was saying, hey, I feel so tired these days. It feels like somebody is cursing my name. It feels like somebody is messing with my name. They're speaking about me badly. They're using my name in such a negative way. Mind you, our names are the only real things that we own, right? But we feel very protective of our names. Why else would we get so defensive and so irritated and angry when people don't say our names correctly? Our names are important. They hold power. And my friend actively said, she was like, oh, actually, yeah, I've been speaking to the person. They were saying that, you're this and you're that. And I was like, oh, well, see, that makes a lot of sense. There we go. Because, you spoke to this person a while ago. I've been feeling all of this for this long. It all makes a lot of sense why that was happening. So, I don't tell people I've had. I'm very aloof with it. It doesn't mean oh, I think I'm better than you or anything. It just means that I'm still figuring things out, and I'd rather just do something and not having to sit down and tell every single person, yes, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. So I have thoughts. They might come to fruition, they might not. I don't want to put something out there and then actually decide I don't really want to do this. People don't need an explanation of everything, but it feels like I then have to start explaining why I didn't do something. And I don't really want to do that. If I decided it just wasn't meant to be, it just wasn't meant to be. I don't need to give reasons as to why it wasn't. But I really want this year to be different. I do not feel like myself when I am not being creative. If I'm not making something, if I'm not putting a version of myself out there that is telling a story. I've always told stories. I don't know long story short. I'm going to tell an extremely short story the longest possible way I can. I will add context where it doesn't even need to be added. I will do it. That's a threat and a promise. And a warning. You have been warned. It's just who I have always been to my core. I am nothing without creation. And that sounds crazy. That sounds really intense. But like even fashion, I've always just turned to fashion. Fashion is my passion. But I'm not kidding. How I dress, how I express all of that. I was looking through my Instagram feed. I messaged my friend. I was like, I don't know what to do with my Instagram. I don't think there's a point in me having more than one. I'm just gonna stick to the one that I've always had. And I was looking at all the photos, what I've kept up, what I've archived. I was having so much fun. I was having so much fun. I was being goofy. I was doing dancing. I was dancing. I was dancing to K-pop and like doing outfit switches. And somewhere along the lines, I started to care about what people thought. What? What? I don't know why that happened. That's crazy. I never cared. You know, like I've always been different. I was the only black kid in an all-Korean school. My parents did not send me to an international school. I've always stood out, right? I've always been different. I think the only time I really didn't want to be different was when I first moved to the UK and I couldn't speak a word of English, despite looking the way I do. I couldn't speak a word of English and I didn't want to speak Korean. That was the only time, until I met somebody who was into like manga in primary school, and I was like, oh my god, like what? Why am I trying so hard to be different? These people want this. I'm gonna embrace it. And then, you know, I just continued to be into manga and anime and K-dramas and K-pop and Korean fashion, Japanese fashion, and just whatever weirdness. And then I met my best friends in secondary school, and they were also into that stuff. It was, you know, so I've been so blessed to be around people who aren't afraid of being different. So it actually did shock me that I was so terrified to be different. I think I have so many thoughts in my head. I don't even know if this is going to be uploaded anywhere. This is literally just a thought dump. I've struggled so much to do. I'm doing morning pages, but I've been struggling because it slightly felt like I was performing for my own journal. Journaling used to be so easy, and I think putting a name to it and making it into a separate task is what's making me struggle. I just have to sit and write. I just have to sit and create the whole idea, like, and just forget that people are going to see this. There's a large like people pleasing aspect that comes with this, that for some reason as I've gotten older has come up a bit more. I will also say that it is most likely because I was living in Korean society, and it's a very people pleasing society because you have hierarchies that have to be respected in different areas. University seniors, professors, the workplace, yada yada yada. So how people think about me definitely started weighing a lot on my shoulders, whereas before I really was like, if someone does not like me, they do not like me. Why is that my business? How close are we for them to have that much of a genuine feeling about me, a reaction to me? I do not need to worry about what people are thinking. And yes, I am. And yet I am. But it is my plan for 2026 to no longer feel that way. It is my plan to reconnect with myself. I've been saying this for months, but I have not been feeling it as deeply as I am. Like I think I could actually start tearing up talking about reconnecting with myself, because it's extremely scary to not feel like you are yourself, or you are even close to being yourself. And I think because I'm living in a new city, I I have cousins. I have loads of cousins. My mum is one of 9 children. So I've got plenty of cousins, but as we get older, it's a lot harder to meet people have kids. My closest friends live in other cities, so I see them maybe a couple times a year. And I don't have any friends in this city, which I also want to do. I want to make friends in this city. I find it difficult to make friends because I find it hard to trust people. And I'm very observant of people. I don't want to, not in a judgmental way, just I pick up on people's micro movements and emotions very quickly. And if they don't vibe with me, I'm just not going to force it. So if you don't vibe with me, you don't have to. I'm just not going to bother with you. I'm going to, be respectful of the space that you have. You don't vibe with me, I'm not going to force it. And then I move on. And there's a lot of changes I have to make to myself as well. Positive changes, not, I'm going to change myself for everybody else. No, it's positive changes for myself to grow. It's something I've always said in my friendships. If there is something about myself that I don't realize that actually does need improving, tell me. Be honest with me. I don't want to get to a certain point with a friend where they'll start having these negative feelings about me and vice versa. So when I start feeling, something in particular, I've sat down with friends and I'm like, hey, I'm starting to feel this and I don't like it because I love you so much as my friend. Let's sit down and have a talk about it. And then we sit and talk. And then we with all the chicken and tteokbokki and go eat ice cream and get a coffee and a sweet treat or something. And if anything, it's made our friendships a lot deeper. I don't have many arguments with friends. If any, we just discuss and hey, you've done this, you've done that. And I take it on the chin quite easily, usually. It's not easy to get criticism about who you are yourself because you don't see yourself in a particular way that somebody else does. It's not easy to get that, but it's needed if you are so serious about growing as a human being. But I digress. I feel like I'm saying I a lot, but it's what is going through my mind about myself and the me that I want to become in 2026 and beyond. It's a healthy growth. It's a healthy. I think it's what's needed. This dump is what is needed for me to continue to do what it is that I want to do. To be outrageous and brazen. I'm an extremely honest person. Brutally honest sometimes. I met with a university friend this weekend. She was doing a little mini European tour and she stayed for 1 night and 2 days in London, and I travelled to London to stay with her, and it was so much fun. I've always wanted to show university friends the UK, the ones who weren't from the UK or anywhere, and she was saying, because I said, I have a strong character, and she said, you don't have a strong character. I mean, you're strong, but you don't have a strong character. You just have a lot of opinions. And I think that's often mistaken as you having a strong personality. I am actually usually quite quiet. I listen, and I mentioned earlier, I observe, and I think deeply before really saying anything when I'm speaking, when it's a deeper conversation. And I thought, it's actually true. I'm just really opinionated. I have a lot of opinions. And I've been told a lot that, I have too many. I don't believe anyone can have too many opinions. And when I also met with my cousin and just talking about what I want, it was actually really funny how what I wanted and what I wanted to become like how that came about. She was just showing me a pair of boots. She showed me a pair of boots. They're so cute. They're like pointed stiletto boots. And I was saying, oh my gosh, I've been looking for a pair of boots like that, like leather ones. They remind me of what, like the early 2000s. I was like, these are the shoes that I felt like represented the adult that I wanted to become. I wanted to be just like the 2000s girls, communications girls. I am a 2000s communications girl. They raised me. And it's like my previous life flashed before my eyes. I grew up, I had a polyvore, I had a WeHeartIt, I had a lookbook, I had a blogger, I had a WordPress, I've had Tumblrs, I've had any form of a blog you possibly could have had. It's always been with me. I like finding ways of communicating and showing people my thoughts. I did not care who saw, I did not care if nobody saw. But spreading something, showing people something, and sharing things with others has always been part of who I am. I'm a 2000s communications girly, and I've forgotten my roots, and it's time for me to go back. So this year I will be more brazen. I did a reading with my aunt, and one thing that kept coming out was just being loud. And it doesn't mean that I have to speak with like just high volume all the time. It just means that I have to be that confident person that I am when I'm with the people that I'm extremely close to. I do not need to be afraid of anything. There is nothing for me to be afraid of. I just have to put myself out there. And this whole, you have to be realistic about everything, you have to blah, 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 blah. No, I have to go get what I want. And I'm good at getting what I want. That's how I survived on my own for 9 years, almost, in another country. So, 2026. It's new. It's new hair, new me. And I say this every time I change my hair. It's like a new person, but this time I genuinely feel it. It's like the hair that I had 2 years of locks. My hair had locks. I had to use this really beautiful bone letter opener that my mum gave me, well, that I took and asked permission to keep from my mum. And I combed every single lock, 85 locks, combed every single one of them out because my hair just wasn't working. I was like, something's not right. When my hair is not right, I cannot concentrate. I thought about doing micro braids to locks for 2 whole days. That is a week in my mind, and I said that's enough. I'm doing it same night. Took everything out. Didn't take everything out. It took me a week. I'm on week 3. I finished these today. And this feels incredibly right. This feels incredibly right. I think I've made the right decision. And I think I'm only going to keep making the right decision. That's a really, that's a really confident thing to say, but I feel confident. And if I do not feel confident in myself, who's going to do it for me? No one. I'm going to put this up there. I will put this on my YouTube channel. I do not care. It's 34 minutes. If someone wants to watch all of it, let them. Am I going to edit it? Probably not. I'm going to upload this as it is. This is anybody who is able to get through this rambling. This is how I speak normally when I'm speaking to my friends. If you were able to get through this, congratulations. First of all. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, I hope you look forward to what I can become. And I hope you can relate to this, or you know someone you feel like can relate to this, and that you can become the person that you want to become in 2026. And then the people that you love can become the people that they want to be in 2026 and 2027 and 2028. This is for life. This is for life. This isn't just a one-year thing. Honestly, this feels so much better than just writing it all. Like, I think I wouldn't be able to articulate every single thought. My brain moves too quickly for my hands to keep up with sometimes. So when I feel like I'm slow, like I'm having a slower time, I feel like I can write down what's it going through my mind. But when I have like 20 different thoughts, I think there's quite a few thoughts that I started saying and didn't finish whilst I'm doing this. But c'est la vie or whatever. I really wasn't making this. I didn't start filming this with any thought about uploading it, but it's kind of, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about it. So I'm not going to do an outro. I'm just almost Happy New Year. So almost Happy New Year. I have a malt. It's a malt Guinness, non-alcoholic. I'm going to finish this off, and I'm going to prepare for a new year. So, whoever's seeing this, if there's one other person that sees this, there's 20 other people that see this. 20 people are a lot of people to be speaking to. 20 is a lot of people to be speaking to. Remember that. Anytime anybody tells you, only 100 people saw this, 100 people? Speaking to 100 people is a lot. That is a lot of people. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to the you that you used to be, the you that you currently are, and the you that you are going to become in the future. Slay. I love that. That was beautiful. I didn't even think about that. That's crazy.